Sports radio talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and SDSU Associate Athletic Director Jenny Bramer. Welcome to Evening Edition.
Thank you.
Lee, let's start with the athlete. By his own admission, Tony Gwynn says he was a basketball player growing up, and he really had to work hard to become a baseball player. What did he have to do? Well,
he had to learn how to hit. He learned how to field. He learned about the rigors of baseball because it's different in college athletics where you play a couple of times a week. Major League Baseball, you grind. You play 162 games. I always felt he was a very accomplished athlete, but he made hitting a science. He was so dedicated. He invented video. He invented watching video, how he hits, what he did when he was in hot spells, what he did when he wasn't doing well.
When you say that, he was one of the first actually to sit there and study pitchers' video, correct? Is that what you're talking about?
He was addicted to video. Mm-hmm. I mean, this guy, the .338 career batting average and all the phenomenal individual seasons, he would study video endlessly. And he'd look at pictures. He made hitting a real science.
Mm-hmm. And Jenny, he took that science and he came to SDSU as the head coach, and he was very successful head coach. It didn't start out that way. It was a little bit bumpy, I understand, at first. Give us some highlights from his coaching career here at San Diego State.
Absolutely. So the past two seasons have culminated with NCAA regional performances, and really when he started out, he had to experience what college baseball was like because it was different than when he played, and really led to some fantastic players. Steven Strasburg is a product of our program. We have a number of professional players out there, Quentin Berry, Bruce Billings, some guys that have played at the very highest level under the tutelage of Coach Gwynn.
Well, I want to get into Tony Gwynn as a person. I understand when he became a Hall of Famer, he gave us a glimpse of basically how dedicated his wife and his family was to the sport. Here's what he said when he got the Hall of Fame award at Cooperstown.
She was going to let me go out and play baseball, and she was going to raise our children. And I got constantly reminded of this once I got to the big leagues, because getting to the big leagues, I don't want to say it's easy, but once you get here, the object is to stay here. And my wife allowed me to go kind of chase my dream. She allowed me to go out and spend all the time I could trying to be the best baseball player.
Lee, how important was that support to his success?
Well, being a Major League Baseball player has enormous pressures, enormous struggles on the field, enormous consuming of time off the field, enormous pressures on families and holding it together. Now, he was lucky because he made San Diego his home, so Alicia and the kids were here all the time. There are a lot of guys on that Padres roster whose wives are not here, who are raising kids somewhere else. In Dubuque, Iowa. He was committed to this community. She supported him, and of course he became a superstar. But he was never a superstar as it relates to how he interacted with people. He didn't look down at people. He was just matter of fact, this is what I do it very well, and I love my life, and I'm going to help you do your job.
I think people saw that. And let's talk about his health side, Jenny. Tony attributed the habit of chewing tobacco for 30 years as the reason for his salivary gland cancer and his facial cancer. Do you think that influences the young players as far as avoiding tobacco, or is it still prevalent today?
Well, I think it's got to be. I mean, they have to pay attention to that. But that's the great thing about Tony is he didn't stand up and point a finger and say, do this or don't do that. He was an example guy. He changed his ways. He showed who he was. That's where our student athletes were the beneficiaries of hearing his stories and seeing his relationship with Alicia firsthand and knowing that he was the greatest dad ever to Anthony, and so just all the life examples, that loyalty and being an Aztec for life, all those things that he was able to accomplish.
How will the Aztecs remember Tony Gwynn?
Everyone has their own personal experience. I mean, he made an art of making you feel like you were the most special person in the room, and each of our student athletes will have that to go with and to know that they were instructed by the greatest baseball player potentially ever, and then all of us in the athletics department who had the chance to get to hear his laugh and enjoy his smile and tell his story and know that he was absolutely the #1 Aztec for life.
And Lee, for San Diegans, what do you think if you had to say in a sentence or two and sum up the legacy of Tony Gwynn here?
He loved the game. He loved people. He loved to interact. He loved to hit baseballs. He He loved the history of the game. I mean, one of the funniest stories he ever told me was the first time he played in Yankee Stadium during the Padres World Series. He's in right field, and he says, I have to pinch myself. I'm in right field where Babe Ruth played and Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris were. And this is one of the great icons of baseball saying how he can't believe he's there. He was an egoless person. He was a phenomenal person.
And he does leave that, I think, legacy of a fan and player, being a fan of baseball and a player as well. We are unfortunately out of time. Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and Jenny Bramer, thank you very much.
Thank you.